Hello, and welcome back to yet another episode of Literally My Life, My Guide to Girlhood. Even though I'm pretty sad right now, I'm always very happy and very grateful for the podcast. I'm very happy to be recording yet another episode. Yesterday, guys, I went to the Bud Bulletin Parade, which I've never been to before, but since I'm like trying to build a Chicago kind of presence, I went to it. I'm gonna start going to like more Chicago stuff, and I went, and it was so much fun. So if you're somebody who I promoted the podcast to yesterday at the parade, welcome. I want to say hi to all of our hopefully new listeners, and I'm just so excited to be recording yet another episode. Today, I'm going to be talking about my ironic seasonal depression in the summer. I'm going to be explaining it. I'm going to be explaining how the summer is just kind of hard for me. I'm going to talk about a lot of the reflection I've been doing. So it's going to be vulnerable. It's going to be sad. I might cry. I might not. I don't know. But we're going to talk today. It's going to be a heavy episode. So get some tissues, get some chocolate, like whatever you'll need because it's going to be a heavy one. Okay, I want to talk about the irony of like summertime sadness because like summertime is obviously associated with like happiness and joy and like sunshine and rainbows and like all of that, like all the good stuff. And that's what it is. And I'm not saying like summer is like a sad season, but to me, like for some reason, summer is harder for me than fall because the first thing being I use school as like a little bit of a coping mechanism. Like I'm one of those people who like to stay busy, who like to be able to do stuff. Like that's like how I deal with stuff. That's work, like work. I have to stay productive. I have to work. That's what helps me. And so obviously we're not in school during the summer, so it's like, how the fuck am I gonna cope? Like how am I gonna be able to like find stuff to do? Because I don't have a job, I don't have an internship, and I'm not in school. So it's like, ooh, what the fuck am I gonna be doing? I don't know. And it's just hard. And then the second reason I think it's hard for me is because summertime is also a time where I see a lot of people who like hang out with their friends and who hang out with like their boyfriends and stuff like that. And it's just not that for me. Like I said it, I think 2 episodes ago in like why big friend groups never work. And I've always been one to like have a smaller friend group, but like I love my friends and I have like a close knit of friends. But I do feel like pretty lonely in the summertime because of that. Like my friends, because I only have like a couple, if they are busy, then I have like no one to hang out with, and then I don't have anyone to hang out with or like anything really to do, and it becomes kind of lonely. I'm sure you guys can relate to that, or maybe you guys are like one of those people who have like all the friends and all of that, and if so, then I'm like super jealous of you. So one thing I've always like prided myself in being is like one of those people who don't chase relationships. Like I don't need a relationship to be happy. That's for sure. I like being by myself. I like my alone time. I like just being in my room, writing in my journal, like watching my Real Housewives of New Jersey. Like I like that, and I like me, and I like the freedom that I have when I'm not in a relationship. But sometimes it does get a little lonely, and I'm going to explain why. So yesterday I went to the Bud Bulletin Parade. It was so much fun. Like kisses to everyone who was there. And I was with my best friend, but I call him my brother. And I was with my other best friend, Sky, who you guys, if you're familiar with me, you're probably familiar with my best friend Sky. And Sky has a boyfriend, which you guys may or may not be familiar with. And so Sky brought her boyfriend, whatever. He's a pretty chill guy, there was no issue there, but it kind of made me like realize, like it kind of just made me like a little sad, and I'm going to explain why. So I feel like with guys, I've had like moments with guys, if that makes sense. Like I've had like brief flings, or like almost, or like the woulda coulda shouldas a lot, and that's fine. Like like I said, I don't need that relationship to be happy, but it kind of makes me sad when like I think, you know, why do I keep getting like bullshitted? Like, you know what I mean? It kind of makes me sad to think maybe there's not a man out there who like wants to take me seriously. Like I'm always like the end of a joke or a bet or whatever to a guy. I'm never someone they would want to take seriously. And that's okay, but it's not. Like it hurts. I'm sure you guys know what I mean. I'm sorry, this is like really hard for me to talk about, but I'm going to talk about it. It's okay. I'm always like the end of a joke. Like I'm not something they want to take seriously. And I'm going to give an example. This guy, and I'm pretty sure he listens to the podcast, so if he does, but this guy, I met him. He like DM'd me on Instagram like in May when I was working, and he was just like, "Oh, you're so beautiful" or whatever. And I was like, he's all right looking. So we started texting because I was like bored. But then I was like, okay, you know what? He seems like he has good intentions. He seems like, maybe I should look at his heart and not his face. Never do that. Um, we went on a date and he turned out to be a complete like bullshitter. Like, we went to like Chipotle and he didn't even like pay for my bowl. Like, it was like the worst date ever. It was like the worst first date ever, and I could like probably like go into detail about it later. It sucked, and it became very apparent to me that he kind of just really wanted like sex. He didn't really want me, which sucked. And I was like, oh my god, like why do I keep getting like bullshit? Like when is someone gonna meet me and like me and want to be with me and take me seriously? Like when is that going to be the case? Like when am I gonna stop being someone that's seen as like a good time and like be seen as someone who they would take seriously, you know? And so when people like associate me with like guys, whether they're like really good looking or really whatever, people are like, oh, that should be a compliment. Like, you were once associated with this guy and he's so hot and he's this, but it hurts in a way. It's like very vulnerable for me. It's like, I don't want to be associated in that situation, not because of the person, but because of the context of the situation. Like, I'm always, I feel like the butt of a joke. I just feel like less than what I am, and it really hurts and it feels lonely because it's like there's no one to tell me like kind of how wonderful and great I am. There's no one around to do that, and I'm gonna get into that in a little bit. And it hurts. There's like I just don't feel special, and I know that's like the love you should be getting kind of like at home, but I don't get that at home. So it would be nice to have a guy in my life who would want to take me seriously. And although I don't need it, it would be nice, but I don't need it. Like, I'm not going to go out looking for a relationship. I'm not going to go out chasing a relationship. I'm not going to like go lower than my standards because I want that, but it would be nice. So I'm going to like say like Sierra's prayer every night. Okay, so how I just talked about like, there's no one to tell me that I'm great and how I should be getting that at home and I'm not. Well, I'm not. And because of that, well, not solely because of that, because that sounds kind of bratty, but because of that, I've kind of decided to distance and not really have a relationship with my immediate family, which is hard, but I think it's the right decision to make. And I'm going to make a Real Housewives of comparison, so leave me alone. But you guys know I'm absolutely and utterly obsessed with Real Housewives of New Jersey. And on the first season, there was two sisters and a sister-in-law. It was Dina, Caroline, and their sister-in-law, Jacqueline. And they were like best friends. And then Caroline and Jacqueline were putting Dina through the ringer, and Dina left the fucking show. And she doesn't talk to her sister. And although it's like very sad, as I watch the show, I see my story align more and more with Dina's. And that's awful to say, but like I just don't want to do that. But that's not how I feel about my siblings. It's not my siblings. It's more my immediate family. And it's sad. I love my family. I really do. And I'm not saying I have a bad family. I'm not saying like I have a bad childhood. I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna get up here and act like I've been abused and I've been through the ringer with this, that, and the third, because I haven't. I'm very lucky to have the family that I have. I'm very lucky to have the life that I have. I really do. I just feel that I'm at a point where I can't continue to beat a dead horse. You know what I mean? Like with my family, I've tried everything you could think of. I've gotten us to therapy. I've done everything I can think of with my immediate family to try to get us to get along, to try and get them to see my point of view about things, and they won't see it. And I'll tell my immediate family members, I say, it hurts my feelings when you guys pick fights with each other. It hurts my feelings when you guys call each other names. It hurts my feelings when I'm on that receiving end and you pick fights with me and you call me names. And as much as I've pointed out the behavior and asked for it to stop, it hasn't stopped. It literally hasn't stopped. And what would you do if, you have to treat everything kind of like you would treat a toxic relationship. If I had a boyfriend and I was telling him over and over again, I don't like the way he treats me, I don't like the things he does, and he continued to ignore it and continue to do those same things, I would literally leave his ass. I would get up and I would leave his ass without issue, and we just wouldn't be together anymore. And that's just how I feel about my family at the moment. Like I'm trying and I'm trying and I'm trying and nothing is working. I'm doing everything I can think of and nothing is working. I've left guys for less than that. I can't continue to put myself through that ringer. If I've learned one thing this year, it's to focus on the things that I can control. I can't control the way my family's behaving. I can't control the way they're treating me, but I can control the way I'm acting. And I'm not going to beg for a relationship. I'm not going to beg for respect. I'm just done. And so people might be like, well, how the hell are you going to not have a relationship with your family and live under the same roof? First of all, is not fighting. It's hard to not fight, but I've chosen not to engage. I don't want to engage. I don't want to talk, and I don't want to talk to you about things, and I don't want to fight with you. I'm not going to share my business. I'm going to do me. I'm going to go up every day and go to my fucking program that I have to go to every day because of my family. And I'm going to work on Alex because that's what I have control over. And I've started to be selfish. I've been through so much with my family, with my friends, with school. I have been through so much. Like if I had a episode about like my lore, it'd be like 2 hours long. And people would be like, oh my God, how are you still standing? Like you've been through a lot. I've been through so much and I carry it, but it doesn't mean like I carry it well, but it doesn't mean it's not heavy. Okay. I've been through so much and I'm gonna put myself first. Like I've decided I'm gonna be selfish. And I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to do it. And it's hard because I feel like I'm always told I'm not good enough. I'm always reminded of the things I'm not doing. I'm always reminded of the things that I could do better. I'm never told about like how wonderful I am. I'm never talked to about how lovely I am. I've never talked about like how well I'm doing. I'm never reminded of that by my immediate family. I never am. Like I get that from like some of my friends or like sweet people on TikTok. Like I never am reminded of that by the people who are around me every day. All I'm nagged about constantly is about the things I don't do, the things that I can do better. And it makes you feel like less of a person. It makes you feel like you're not good enough. And to even be told that you're not good enough, which I have been by my immediate family, and I've been called every fucking name in the book by my immediate family. And it makes you feel like you're not good enough. But I know that I am. And I realize, what, their perception of me is not a reflection of me. Like I am not who you say I am. I am not what what you say about me. I am who I decide to be. And I don't have to deal with it anymore. I really don't have to deal with it anymore. And it's sad because I feel like another Real Housewives reference. I feel like Lisa Vanderpump when she was like, "Goodbye, Kyle. Like I'm done with the season because you're putting me through bullshit." And that's how I feel. Like I'm done. I'm like wiping my hands clean, and it's just over. I'm done. And is it sad? Yeah, because at the beginning of this year, I thought I would always be with my immediate family, and I trusted them with my life, and I loved them. And now I'm at a point where I don't really want a relationship with them at all. Like I don't want a close relationship with them. Do I love them? Yeah. Will I show up for maybe like Christmas once in a while? Yeah. But I'm done, and it's very, very heartbreaking. And it adds to that loneliness I was just talking about. Like if I don't have anyone special in my life and then I don't have my immediate family, like who do I have? And although the right answer is like, oh, I have myself, like I'm so strong and I'm fearless, and yeah, but I hurt too. I cry too. And everybody, when they're crying, wants a hug or somebody to say, you're doing a great job. And I just don't have that. I always am nagged. I'm always being told by everybody and even myself sometimes that I'm not good enough. And it's so hard to fight that, and you feel really defeated. So, as a coping mechanism, I have started an intensive outpatient program, which I talked about months, like weeks ago. But you're probably like, wow, so you're like crazy. And, that was the same stigma I had. I get it. But then I, got there and I met a lot of other kids who were like just like me. Like, I expected it to be like your kind of like textbook definition of crazy. And everybody was like, so normal and we all look the same, and it just looked like it was a lot of people who were going through the same thing I am. Like they're having a tough time and they don't know how to get through it. They don't have the tools that they need, and that's literally me down to a T. And it's been really great, and I learned a lot of techniques. And the biggest one I really like so far has been like improve, which is basically something you use like for crisis management and emotion regulation, even though that's what they say is not important, but it is. And it's when like your mood is so like your crisis is so high and you need to calm down. And it's basically about like using that imagery, using that meaning, that meditation, remembering what's good for you, looking at good memories, finding alternate like good coping mechanisms other than like self-harm. Like yesterday I had a really rough time and I put a rubber band on my arm and I like flicked at it. And it didn't really bring the same sensation, but it really helped. You know what I mean? Just stuff like that. And so I was like, I'm really happy that I was able to do that. So I absolutely suggest that. Like my first episode was about therapy. So don't feel crazy. I feel like therapy and outpatient programs, they're so stigmatized, but I'm really grateful for that. Like I'm glad tomorrow I have something to go to and I have something to do and I can talk about more about this issue with my family and more about this loneliness and this heartache. And, I'm always wanting to share this with you guys. And there's nothing wrong with asking for that help. There's nothing wrong with going to the mental hospital. There's nothing wrong with, being on a temporary hold. There's nothing wrong with going to an intensive outpatient program or rehab or any of that stuff, because even though it's so stigmatized and people talk about it, I'd much rather hear stories about like, oh, this person just went to rehab, than this person hurt themselves or they're dead. Like that's what I'd so much rather hear. Though people are going to talk about you, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you, And I've learned a lot of coping mechanisms and strategies to the point where I feel like I'm able to deal with this in a much better way. Like 6 weeks ago, if this situation that I'm going through right now had happened, I would have probably lost my mind even more than I did lose my mind and sat more on my floor over there eating watermelon gummies, crying my eyes out to you guys. Like it would have been worse than it was then. But I'm doing okay. Like I'm doing better and I've learned better coping skills and I'm learning how to deal with stuff because I want to live and I deserve a happy life and I don't deserve to let the circumstances of my temporary situation consume my life and make me miserable or even make me want to end my life. Like I don't deserve that. And that's what I've been telling myself. And I'm very proud of myself and I'm on this journey towards healing and building that peace. So that's my biggest suggestion. If you don't get anything out of this episode, at least get that. There's nothing wrong with going to therapy. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. There's nothing wrong with going to any kind of program like I am. There's nothing wrong with it because you deserve love. You deserve happiness. You deserve that peace. Like you deserve it. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help getting it. I think I finally understand what I'm feeling. I feel very taken advantage of because I feel like I will do any and everything to make other people happy, and other people don't give a shit about me. And I know I just said that, but I feel very taken advantage of. And that's how I've always felt my entire life. Like, let me see if I can clip this on so I can like use my hands and talk. I have always felt taken advantage of, always, because I've always been a pushover. And people used to tell me that like in the third, fourth grade, and I'd be like, why am I such a pushover? Why am I such a pushover? Why do I let people continue to take advantage of me? And why do I continue to let them? Like, why am I like this? And then you realize you have that realization, I'm like this because of my environment. I'm the reason I am because of the people I'm around. I continue to let my immediate family, the people who are closest around me, the people who I should be able to trust and love, take advantage of me constantly. I let them take advantage of my kindness, my trust, my love. Like I let them take advantage of everything and I just give, and people just take, and they don't give a shit about me. They don't care about Alex. They don't care about her well-being. They don't care. Nobody sits there and thinks, maybe I can't do this. Let me not do this because it'll make Alex upset. No guy's ever done that. My family hasn't done that. My friends barely do it. No one thinks about me in that way. And it's so heartbreaking. It's so lonely. It's so isolating. And I don't know what to do. I genuinely don't know what to do. I don't know why people continue to take advantage of my kindness. And I know I can't sit here and say that because I know I've taken advantage of people's kindness. I literally just got fired from fucking Lollapalooza for taking advantage of someone else's kindness. But it's so frustrating because I don't understand. And I hate that. I feel like that's human nature. Why is it that when we meet a kind person, our first thought is to take advantage of them? When you have a nice teacher, when you have a really nice teacher, a really chill teacher, your first thought is, let me use my phone, let me talk in class, let me take advantage of their kindness, instead of appreciating their kindness and saying, I have a nice teacher. Let me do my homework. Let me pay attention in our class. Why are our brains like that? And I feel like because we're wired like that, I get ran over all the fucking time and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. And I want to yell and I want to scream and I want to break things, but that's not my heart. that's not my character. And it gets to the point where you're crying alone in your bed and you're like, God, please don't change my heart. Like, let me continue to be a good person. Like, let every bad thing I go through continue to make me softer and kinder and more gentle to people. And I want to continue to be that good person. I want to continue to be big hearted and be that person who loves everyone, but I can't do it because people continue to walk all over me, and it's fucking hard. It's fucking ridiculous, and it's hard, and I can't do it anymore. I'm sick of it, and I'm done. And I don't want to yell. I don't want to scream. I don't want to break things. I just want to move on. I just want to move on. I want to have a new life. Like, I wish to God I was born a year earlier and I was about to move to college. Like, I really, really do. I hate that I have one more year left. I hate. And you see how I can't even talk that long without getting choked up? Because I have breathing fucking issues. I have health problems. No one thinks about that. No one thinks about the stress. No one thinks about the stress that happens in our household, how that continues with my health problems. I can't even scream. You know how I say I want to scream? I can't even yell without coughing. I can't laugh too long without choking. I can't talk too long without getting out of fucking breath. And no one thinks about that. No one thinks about that shit. No one thinks about me. But if this was someone else, if this was one of my friends who was having this problem, I'd be at the hospital. I'd be at every doctor's appointment. I'd be baking cookies. I'd be doing everything I fucking could to make somebody comfortable. And when I was in the hospital 3 fucking weeks, no one even came to visit me. No one. Like, the only person that was there every fucking day was my dad. And that's the only person at this point I want to have a relationship with, because he's the only person who doesn't take advantage of me. And that's sad. Like, the only person who doesn't take advantage of me is my dad. The only person who appreciates my kindness is my dad, like my own dad. That's the only person. That's so sad. That's so sad. And you realize, like, you're like, my life is so fucking sad. I pity myself, because really, this is my life. This is who I am. This is how people are going to treat me. And you're like, people treat you how you let them. And I have to stop letting people treat me this way, but it's so hard because that's who I am. I want to give. I want to make people happy. I want to people please. That's who I am, and that's my heart. And I know that because of that, I am continuing to allow myself to put myself in situations where I'm going to be hurt. The end result is me getting hurt. And I don't know how to stop setting myself up for failure. I don't. Honestly, it felt really good to get that out. I know the audio was probably crappy because it was like attached to my shirt, but it felt really good to get that one out, you know? And at this point in my life, I'm being selfish. I know I said it earlier, but I'm gonna be selfish. And I guess that's my coping mechanism. And here's some inspirational, like, a little message to you guys, okay? It is okay to be selfish. We're always taught, put other people first, put other people before your own, treat people how you want to be treated. No one thinks like that. People will eat at you and take advantage of you. And I'm not saying to not be a kind person. I'm not saying to not be thoughtful, but only be kind to those who are kind to you, and only be thoughtful to those who think about you. Do not waste your beautiful energy. You're too bright of a person, too beautiful of a person, and too kind of a soul to continue to give, and to not get anything in return. That's not how things work. It's not fair, and you don't deserve it. I don't deserve it, and that's not what we're going to do. You're such a beautiful person, and your energy is so much better spent investing it in people who actually care and love you and will return that same energy back to you. And that's what we're doing. If that means we have to cut off immediate family, that means we have to cut off some friends, if that means we have to leave situations in our life, then that's what we're going to do. There's strength in letting go. There's strength in leaving relationships. There's strength in cutting off friendships. There's strength in it. And that's what we're going to do. I'm done. You're done. We're just over this. We're over being taken advantage of. And that's how it is for me. I'm over it and I'm done. And I know it's done for you guys. You guys are such beautiful people. And I know if you listen to me rant for 30 minutes every week, you must be incredibly patient. And you just deserve someone in your life who reciprocates that energy. And we're done being drained and taken advantage of. We're just done with it. So now I'm glad I did this episode, because I feel like I've worked kind of through this, and I've come to this conclusion that I'm only going to put my energy into people who care about me. And there are people out there. Okay, I'm not completely alone. I'm not sad, like I was saying, like, oh, nobody cares about me. There are some people who care about me. I'm very close with my dad. I'm very close with my sisters. I have people out there who do love me. And that is what I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to focus on trying for anyone else anymore. Even though I kind of came to that conclusion earlier, I have to continue to remind myself of that. What matters most is my happiness and me. I'm going to be selfish now, and that's what it is. And with that, I want to say thank you guys for listening to, I think, our 27th-ish episode of Literally My Life, My Guide to Girlhood. I love you guys so much, and I am just so grateful to be you guys' podcast host. I know this is a bonus episode, and I'm glad you listened to it, and I have so much more coming up. I have so much more coming up on YouTube. I have so much more episodes coming up. Like, prepare to be sick of me because I have so much to talk about. We have so much to cover before the summer is over, and I genuinely love you guys so much. Thank you guys so much for listening every week. Before you go, please follow at Literally My Life MGTG on Instagram and TikTok to stay updated on all things My Guide to Girlhood. And I will see you guys soon. Okay, I love you guys so much. Bye.